Hey everybody, Pastor John with your Midweek Moment for this week. Actually, I've got three things I want to talk about this week. One of them is quick, one of them is semi-quick. The other one is going to take a couple of minutes. The thing that is quick is I just want to remind everybody that the annual budget meeting of the First Congregational Church of Kent is taking place this Sunday, January 30th at 11 o'clock following the live streamed worship service. I mention this because if you are an official member of the First Congregational Church of Kent, I very much look forward to seeing your bright, smiling face there. We'll work it the same way we worked at the informational meeting last week. On Saturday in the afternoon or the evening, I'll send out a link, and when it's 11 o'clock on Sunday morning, all you'll need to do is click on the link, and you'll go straight to the meeting. I'll also include an additional copy of the three budgets for operating, outreach, and the thrift shop, so you have all three of those available. So that's my first thing, just a quick reminder about the budget meeting this Sunday. Second thing I'd like to share is, for those of you who have been asking about it, a brief update about my dad. As you know, many of you know, I guess a couple of weeks ago, Dad had a very minor stroke. And when I say minor, I mean minor. I guess it was the smallest possible stroke that someone can have and still get credit for having one. If you were using a 5-grade grading scale, it was sort of a D-. I mean, it was just barely passing. But it was a stroke, and he's going to be 89 this year, so my sister and brother and I were concerned. Well, I'm happy to report that yesterday he went home. My brother Joel, who works one of those computery jobs where you can do it anywhere, is going to be staying with Dad for 3 or 4 weeks. Dad's home, he's moving around, sometimes he forgets to use his walker. I talked to him last night, he sounded terrific. So there's good news there for those of you who have been concerned, and I appreciate all the folks who have been asking about Dad, and I know folks who have been praying for him, and I appreciate that as well. I'll actually be seeing Dad next week. I was going to go down to see him Friday and Saturday, but you all know what the weather forecast is supposed to be like. So what I'm going to do actually is leave here Sunday afternoon after the budget meeting. I'll be there on Monday, and then I'll come back on Tuesday. I mention this because that means I need to cancel my Tuesday office hours because I doubt I'll be back here by 11. So there won't be office hours on Tuesday of next week, but there will be on Wednesday and Thursday. So that's the second thing. The third thing I want to talk to you about is an article I read in The Guardian online yesterday, written by a person named Ruth Bronstein. She's an associate professor of sociology up at UConn, in Storrs, actually. That's why I'm pointing, because that Storrs is that way. I think it's that way anyhow. Anyway, this article that Professor Bronstein wrote was about religious change in America, which, is a topic I'm very interested in because religion's my business. But it's a topic that I think we should all be interested in because, as church people, we actually see religious change around us every week. If you've been a member of this church for, 30, 20, maybe even 10 years, you've actually seen religious change take place in our pews on Sunday morning because we all know that there are not a lot of people, or let me put it this way, there are not as many people who go to church now as there used to be. We've actually seen that religious change in our congregation, and one of the things Professor Bronstein does is she tries to explain why that's happened. And one of the points she made in this very interesting article was that, I suppose you could say that you could blame it on the conservative evangelicals. And not all evangelicals, but like the really strong, like pro-Trumpy, politically motivated evangelicals. The argument's made that sort of approach to combining religion and politics has had the effect of pushing a lot of people away from Christianity, and not just people in evangelical churches, but just people who are maybe religious generally, or people who had been raised in a church or were left or something like that. It has the effect of pushing them even further away. Another point she makes, though, is that while there have been a lot of people who've been sort of pushed away by that sort of hard-line, right-wing, politically motivated approach to Christianity, there's also been sort of a larger change and what it means to be religious, because all those people who left church, they didn't all become atheists. They didn't all stop believing in God or in Jesus. They just started practicing their religion in very different and unstructured sorts of ways. That they became sort of that group of people who are spiritual but not religious, right? They're people who believe stuff, but they don't necessarily go to church, because if they think that if all the churches are like the sort of hard-line political churches that they hear about on TV, that's just not something they're interested in. And like I said, it's a really interesting article. You can go to the Guardian's website, and I suppose, Google Ruth Bronstein, search for Ruth Bronstein, you'll probably find the article. It was only went up yesterday. And it's an interesting article, but I thought there was also a point in it for us. Because it seems to me that this religious change also presents an opportunity for churches like ours, churches that practice a more sort of moderate and inclusive approach to being a Christian. I think there are a lot of people out there who have been sort of burned and turned off by sort of those hard-line, right-wing kind of political approaches to religion. But if Professor Bronstein is right, and they're still interested in faith generally, well, then they can be people that we can connect with. They may be people who we can encourage to join us here in church, to join us on sort of the path, the pilgrimage of faith that we're all on. That's, like I said, I think that's a great opportunity for us. And I think if we can figure out how to take advantage of that opportunity, that's something that could do our church and our wider community an awful lot of good. Thanks.